there is a link above. You can see applied metrology, which is mine at Politecnico, high energy particle metrology with the CERN, and a lot of different kinds of magnetic spintronic mechanic metrology for health and energy environment, which is an important thing nowadays. And all these opportunities are important as INGRIM. Now, I don't want to steal any time to the testimonials, which are going to tell you something now. I would like to thank all of you for listening. I would like to thank the organizer for what they did. It's very, very important to have the possibility of this. And I would like to leave everything to the other testimonials.
Professor Parvis, there is some problem with the microphone.
Yeah. I don't know.
Probably someone did not listen properly the presentation.
I don't know, because the microphone is on now.
Okay, now it is okay. Maybe you can start again. Sorry. Now they say on behind the scenes they are saying that now it is properly working. Can share again.
Okay. I'm trying to be quite fast this time. I'm sorry. But
probably there was some problem with internet connection, but now it is okay. You can start again from the slide in which there was the comparison between the PhD in metrology and the concept of meteorology.
From here? Okay.
You can start from here.
Okay. Of course, I cannot understand what was the problem, of course. But anyway, hope you already was able to hear me when I said I was a PhD student of the first year. And when I got to a company, I got metrology is not meteorology, because metrology is everything is a measurement. And when you get potatoes, when you get any kind of, you buy any kind of food, you want to be sure the food is correct, the amount of food is correct. And only people in metrology field can go this way. The other slide, I hope you already saw it, was specifically devoted to discussing the different kinds of research you can do. You can do research at Politecnico, applied metrology at Politecnico, high energy particle metrology at CERN, and several different kinds of metrologists can work at INGRIM. There is only one event at Castello del Valentino, and by the end of October, open to all students for being admitted to the final exam. And I don't want to steal more time from the students and the ex-student who is going to describe. I would like to leave testimonial because it's important for you, for students, to listen to other students. I would like to thank everyone for this opportunity, because it's very, very important for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Parvis, for your presentation. And now it is the turn of Leila Essebar, who is currently a PhD student in metrology at Politecnico di Torino. Thank you, Leila.
Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon, and thank you, Giovanni, for your introduction. I am Leila Essebar. I am currently a PhD student in metrology at Politecnico di Torino, and I would like to present to you also the research group I work with, is the Cometa Lab, where Cometa is an acronym for Corrosion Measurements Tools for Artifacts. As you can see from this slide, we are a group made of researchers with a very multidisciplinary background. Indeed, this allows to combine all our different expertise in our work, starting from chemistry, electronic engineer, material engineering, and also material science. Between all the research areas that Professor Parvis introduced, I work within the applied metrology for health, energy, environment, and cultural heritage area. In particular, the principal aim of my research activity is to study the corrosion behavior and to develop an in situ multi-analytical characterization and protection methodology for artifacts that are of interest in the cultural heritage field. To achieve this principal aim, I'm following two lines of research. The first one regards in particular the performing of monitoring campaign that allows us to assess the conservation state of an artifact. This can be done thanks to our instrumentation. We have different instrumentation that are portable. So it's like having a portable laboratory. We have both a portable commercial instrumentation like X-ray fluorescence, electrochemical impedance spectroscopy, Raman spectroscopy, and also instrumentation for photogrammetry. Then we have also instrumentation and tools that were developed by the research group at Politecnico di Torino, like a 3D printed electrochemical cell that can be used in situ and without damaging an artifact, and also 3D printed sensor for temperature and humidity that allows us to perform environmental monitoring. Then one part of the research regards the design and developing of a 3D standard for photogrammetry procedure assessment. During these 3 years of the PhD, there are many training and research activity. This allows you to travel, for example, and these are the places I had the chance to visit since I began the PhD. For example, there are PhD external training activities like the summer schools, but also you will have the opportunity to travel in order to participate in conferences. Conferences are a really interesting occasion for you to present your work, but also to get to know new researchers and their works. And there are also the occasion to apply for a student travel grant or awards, to participate in student contests. These are the one I get the opportunity to won in these years. And I would like to underline one in particular, the FC Young Researcher Travel Grant, to show you that these grants many times are a money prize that allows you to spend a period of research abroad. In this case, I will have the opportunity to spend some time at the CNRS Chimie Paritech laboratories in Paris. Finally, there are also the external projects that you can be involved in. Indeed, part of my research is conducted in the Polito laboratories, but a fundamental part is conducted outside. Indeed, we cooperate with the Centro Conservazione e Restauro La Venaria Reale. With this group, we develop indeed the 3D standard for photogrammetry, and with the Collezione Gori, it's a private collection of works of art in Pistoia, we perform in situ measurements. Then the research group in these years joined many different laboratories to conduct my research. Finally, besides the course and research activity, there are other activities that you can join during these 3 years. For example, you can be a teaching assistant. In my case, I was an assistant in the chemistry course at Politecnico, and I found this activity very interesting, formative, and it's also a chance to get some extra money besides the PhD scholarship. Then you can get to know many students and join students groups. For example, I joined the IEEE Women in Engineering Affinity Group as a secretary. This group was funded last year, and also the IEEE Student Branch Polito as a member. I would like to thank all the students in this group that also helped to organize the event, and also to invite you to join it if you are interested. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leila, for your presentation. Now it is the turn of Dr. Alex Minetto, who will present his activity. He received very, very recently the PhD degree in Electrical, Electronics and Communications Engineering, and he will for sure present you his experience. Dr. Minetto, it is your turn. Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. I hope you can hear me clearly and you can see the slides in full screen mode. Thank you for this opportunity. And I'm Alex Minetto. I'm trying to present my point of view about a PhD. I titled this brief speech as Navigating a PhD, and you will understand soon the reason why I chose this title. And I tried also to, let's say, squeeze all the experience I got in the last 5 years of my life, going in and out the academic world, basically. And I found that the best way was to provide a linear timeline of these experiences that I had. Basically, I got my master's degree in telecommunication engineering in 2015, and in information theory and signal processing application. After a 6-month internship in the European Organization for the Exploitation of Meteorological Satellites, that was basically a spin-off of the European Space Agency. And I discovered at that time that research was, let's say, the guideline of my professional life. So much that at the end of the degree, so when I got my master's degree, I decided to switch to work for a company. So in the end, I was not so convinced in doing research. But I kept this opportunity to working in a company to retrieve a lot of experience. And then by November 2016, I started my PhD scholarship with the Navigation, Signal Analysis and Simulation Research Group, which is part of the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication. It is led by Professor Fabio Dovis, and a sort of a joint cooperation with LINX, ex-Istituto Superiore Mario Boella, which is a research institute located in the Cittadella. And I got my PhD last week, 1 week ago, actually. So now I'm kind of postdoc researcher. I have a grant to keep going on with the research on the topic I faced during my PhD. What about a PhD from my point of view? Basically, I would say that PhD is a kind of the journey of making science. And I tried also in this case to summarize the steps of doing a PhD, of making science, with these keywords and key verbs to, I would say, provide my point of view. It's not always the case that science, that research brings you from a problem to its solution, to some results, solving some questions, basically. You have to jump forward and backward through these different steps during your PhD. And this is a suggestion from me, from my experience, to spend the right time for each of these key steps, because you will experience a lot of reading activities, trying to understand the literature, the state of the art. You need to spend a lot of time thinking about new ideas, retrieving ideas from other researchers, sharing ideas within your team. And you have also to try and test many things during your lab life, your life in laboratory, doing experiments, doing simulation, doing any kind of things related to your research. And in the end, you have to provide some, I would say, some product of this research that is basically part of the PhD duties. So you have to write publications, you have to publish your results, you have to publish your knowledge, and you could also provide some presentation, public speaking events in order to share what you learned in the best way possible. What about the problem I addressed during my PhD? Basically, I am a researcher in global navigation satellite systems that are known also as GNSS. Probably the most of you knows GPS, but we are not speaking only about GPS. We try to solve for the position, velocity, and also time of a given receiver on the Earth's surface, trying to collect the signals, weak signals coming from 20,000 kilometers from satellites orbiting the Earth at 20,000 kilometers, and transmitting this weak signal through the atmosphere. So you can imagine how difficult could be this problem, and you can also imagine that we would like to have a kind of precise point positioning like the picture you can see in this slide, but is not usually the case in real life. We can get some kind of cloud of points representing our position somewhere. And if we are lucky enough, the average of this point could be something similar to our position, but usually it is not. And we tried to investigate if there was some kind of new approaches to compensate for all these impairments. And probably, as you probably know, there are some solutions provided by additional sensors that are integrated almost everywhere in your smartphones, for instance, as you can see in the picture here in the slide. But since this was already the state of the art for most of the research concerning GNSS, we excluded this kind of contributions, and we tried to exploit two rising technologies. First of all, the high-speed low-latency networks, like the upcoming 5G. I was waiting for that 5G at the beginning of the PhD. I'm still waiting for some simulation environment in which testing 5G actually, and the new generation of mass-market GNSS receivers. So basically, what you call navigator, satellite navigator, that are within your smartphone nowadays. And we succeeded in demonstrating that this kind of cooperation among a set of networked GNSS receivers was profitable to improve both precision and accuracy, so basically positioning performance of this kind of technology of the global navigation satellite systems. And we addressed several assessments about this research, both from I guess that was the best way to explore the theoretical aspect, the simulation, and also the proof of concept that we reached in the end of my PhD. As Professor Grivet said before, you had a chance to travel a lot during the PhD, and in these 3 years, I had a chance to visit many different places in the world. And somehow the PhD journey is a kind of a world tour based on science. Basically, you have the chance to speak, to have public speaking events almost everywhere, at conferences, international, national conferences, and you have also the chance to participate in many summer schools, as Leila said before, and also to take part in a different kind of events during your research activities. Among these events, I can mention basically 3 big family of activities that you can attend during your PhD. First of all, some public speaking events, and we had the chance to participate, to be invited by Google at Mountain View to explain our idea of cooperative positioning in mass market devices. So you can reach some kind of this kind of opportunities, and also to be a speaker of a TEDx, of a first TEDx events in Politecnico di Torino, and I also participated as one of the player of the consortium in a European Space Agency project called ANSEL, in which we developed our proof of concept. And in the end, I was that lucky that my work deserved some prizes that I got during the PhD, like the Galileo Masters, that is basically a competition organized by the European Space Agency. And we got a prize promoted by the Italian Space Agency about our work and my research work. So that's all from my perspective, and I'll open for question in the end of this presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Binetto, for your very detailed presentation. And now it is the turn of Dr. Andrea Marcelli, who is a malware research engineer at Cisco Talos Intelligence Group, who received the PhD from Politecnico di Torino in Computer and Control Engineering in 2019. Dr. Marcelli, it is your turn. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for having me. Unfortunately, I don't have very nice slides as my colleagues, so let's go straight to the point. So my name is Andrea Marcelli. I did a PhD in machine learning and computer security. I did graduate on September 19. I'm currently working in Cisco Talos, which is a Cisco threat intelligence group. So a couple of words about my PhD and then about what I'm doing today and some directions for who is going to do the PhD in the future. So I did the PhD with Professor Squillero, whose field is about optimization techniques, but he did switch to machine learning a few years ago. So we basically did start studying machine learning together. was a very nice journey. We did some research in computer security and hardware security, but I would say that the research I'm mostly proud of is about the detection for new malware samples in a very scalable environment. Because the problem is that today you have so many samples that you cannot process them in a super accurate way. You need a way to do some triage. You need a way to select those samples that you really want to analyze in a deeper way. And so scalability is the key word. So we did develop a framework, a system to scalably analyze and select those samples, provide detections for those who were not covered. We did this with Android malwares in cooperation with a company in the south of Spain called Ispasec. So I also spent some time over there. I went a few times in Spain. I took part in several conferences, and at the end of my journey, on my PhD journey, I also managed to release a tool called IEEE, which was quite a successful tool. It's a tool to provide coverage to create signatures for new malware samples, for new Android malware samples in an automatic way. And I did present that tool in Las Vegas at DEF CON, which is quite an important conference in the security world. Regarding what I'm doing now, currently, I work in Cisco Talos. I'm in the malware research team. So basically what we are doing day to day is to study the threat landscape, to study the evolution of the threat landscape, and try to apply all the recent researches in order to improve the detections. So I would say there is not so much the difference from what I did during the PhD. So it was very, very, very good luck to find this job. And also in my sub-team, we all have the PhD. So it was, again, a kind of luck to find other people with a similar experience. But luckily, we all have a different knowledge in different fields, so we are very complementary one to each other, and we're really doing a great job, I would say. We are also working with universities, in particular here in south of France with Eurocom, and so we have some academic collaborations too, also, although the academic research is not the primary goal for us. So I would like to conclude talking about 3 directions that I would like to give to students who want to start the PhD. The first of all is that PhD, from my point of view, is less standardized than other university programs. So compared to bachelor's and master's, is way, very less standardized, which means we have PhD with different lengths in different countries, different schools, different PhD schools, different professors. And this means that the experience of each doctorate is kind of unique. So it's very hard. What it turns out is that it's very hard and generate confusions to other people who are not in the academia world to understand what actually a PhD is and what actually brings. So it's your effort, it's mandatory that you really explain what did you gain with the PhD. But it's your call. It's not do not expect other people to understand. You have to explain. The second point is that PhD for me is a kind of investment that is something that you do for yourself, for your knowledge, for your career, in case you want to continue in the industry. Otherwise, if you want to stay, of course, in the academia, it's a kind of mandatory step. So keep in mind that it may not bring some immediate advantages. So for example, if you go to work in a company afterwards, do not expect to have such a super high salary just because you did the PhD. But from my point of view, you have to make it to work, and you have to make it valuable for the others. So you have to prove that you really understood something else and that you really learned something more than the others. Last suggestion is define your expectations. If you want to do the PhD, define what you really want to learn, what you want to study, which is your achievement that you want to achieve. And then understand the environment around you. That is, understand which are the expectations from the professor, which are the expectations from the doctoral school, and try to find and try to see if there is a join point, to see if there is an intersection. And if that exists, you have a deal and you can go on. Otherwise, really feel free to see if other PhDs, maybe in other countries, may also be interesting for you. So do not limit yourself. Try to explore as much as possible. Try to talk with other people. And that's all. If you have any questions, you have my email here, marcelli.andrea@outlook.it. Otherwise, place them in the Q&A after.
Thank you, Dr. Marcelli, for your presentation. Now we have our last speaker, Giulia Santoro, who joined Apple within their UK-based GPU Design Center in April 2019. And she earned her PhD degree in Electrical, Electronics and Communication Engineering from Politecnico di Torino in June 2019. Before starting this presentation, I would like to say again that this is the last presentation. So if you would like to provide a question to our guest, please insert it in the comments of this live streaming. Thank you. Dr. Santoro, it is your turn. Thank you.
Thank you, Gianni. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. As Gianni already said, so I am Giulia Santoro. I currently work at Apple in their GPU design center based in London, and I am part of the hardware design team. I joined Apple 1 year ago, and before that, I did my PhD in electrical, electronics, and communication engineering at Politecnico di Torino, and I received my PhD in June last year. So during the PhD, my research focused on the investigation of configurable logic memory architectures. Here, the idea is to blend together processing unit and memory. In current systems, the processing unit and the memory are two separate entities that communicate between each other. And this communication is a huge bottleneck in terms of performance and not only power as well. So here the idea was to blend them together and create a novel computational paradigm where the data computation is done directly inside the memory. So you can think of it as an enhanced memory that has computing capabilities. I also, during my PhD, took part of a joint international research project between Politecnico di Torino and the National University of Singapore, where I worked on hardware accelerators for convolutional neural networks. And during this time, I had my chance to go abroad and spend 4 months in Singapore, where I worked with other students and researchers at the National University of Singapore. Now, let's go to what I really want to highlight in this presentation, which is what how the PhD has helped me in my career after the PhD, and what the PhD has left me. So, first of all, I think that the PhD is a great opportunity for doing some experiences that otherwise you could not do. Just think about, for example, the possibility of participating at international conferences and meeting and confronting with other PhD students or professors, researchers, or even people from the industry. Or think about the possibility of going abroad, spending some time working in international research labs. It's a great opportunity for growing not only professionally, so not just from a strictly technical point of view, but also personally. And I enjoyed a lot going to conferences. It's where you have your chance to present your research and your results. And it is very, very important that you communicate this research and these results to other people in the most effective way that you can, because other people may not be aware of the work, may not be experts in your same field. So if you want to highlight what you have done, you really need to be able to effectively communicate the research. The PhD in general makes you it makes you it faces you with a lot of challenges and complex problems, and in order to overcome and to solve these problems, you have to be open to innovation. You need to be able to look at problems from another perspectives, come out of your comfort zone, and which is not at all easy. It can be really hard at the beginning, but as you go on, you actually enjoy it. You get creative and you really enjoy the research. Of course, while trying to overcome all these challenges, you also need to make decisions. And you need to make these decisions by yourself. It's true that you have your supervisor, but as Professor Sonzareorda was saying, your supervisor is just a guide. She will guide you through the PhD journey, but you have to make the decisions, to be aware of what the risks are and be fully aware of the decisions that you are making and take full responsibility. I think that all these aspects are extremely important. It's what I bring with me every day. And they are extremely useful and important for whatever career path you choose to follow after your PhD, because somehow it shapes you, and not just you, also your way of thinking. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Santoro, for your presentation. Now it is time for the question and answer session. I will read the questions provided from the YouTube channel. The first one is a question for Professor Griveta Loggia. Anna asked this question. She says, I am interested in applying for the PhD program at Politecnico di Torino, but I don't know any professor from this university. What can I do?
Okay, so the best procedure would be to contact directly the coordinators of the doctorate program you are interested in. If you are interested in any of the topics on electrical, electronics, communication engineering, you write me an email directly. If you need to know where are the contacts, you go to our website of Polito, follow doctorato. You have a list of courses available. You select the courses and you have access to all the contacts there. You send me an email, you write the topics you're interested in, and then I can put you in contact directly with the professors working on those topics.
Okay, thank you, Professor Griveta Loggia. Now, there is, let's say, a general question for all our guests, our invited speakers, but also for sure for the coordinators. They ask, how important is to know something about the research topic I want to apply for before starting? Do I have to study anything about that? It is a general question. If someone would like to answer, is very pleased. Maybe also more than one person. Okay, thank you.
I can give a first try since I spoke last. Well, it depends. Usually, students that start a PhD program are not knowledgeable, or mostly not knowledgeable in the specific topic they're going to work on. In some other cases, they just continue their master thesis. So the situation can be very different. In any case, we have a wide number of training courses that are offered. So if you need to complete your knowledge and there are some specific aspects that are required to enable you to carry out your research activities, then this will be attended first in your study plan, so that you fill the gap and then you can start your own research activity. This is, I would say, common to all students. In all cases, you're missing something because the master degrees will not give you all the knowledge that is required to proceed. So in any case, a well-constructed study plan will allow you to fill the gap.
Thank you, Professor Grivetalocia. Is someone who would like to provide an additional answer? I have also a request for everyone for all our guests. Please, can you turn on your video, please? And the microphone when you would like to provide an answer. Thank you so much. Someone else who would like to answer to the question, in other words, providing something additional to what Professor Grivetalocia said?
Let me add something. Well, obviously, I agree with what my colleague said about the question which was raised. But I wanted to stress even more that what is crucial is clearly the motivations and the commitment of the student and the skills the student own. Now, clearly, if a student is an expert in metrology, he could have some problem in moving to machine learning. If he's an expert in, or she's an expert in graphics, he may have a problem in moving to antennas and so on. Still, I have several examples of very good students coming from one area of research, of domain of application, who then decided that they were interested in another topic and started in this topic with great success. So what is crucial is probably to have a very precise idea of which are the goals of my PhD curriculum. It's crucial to contact the possible advisor so that you can create with the advisor a reasonable plan, taking into account your starting point and the goals that you can achieve. And then, there is clearly a training step at the beginning in order to really enter into the domain. In my expertise, we have several students coming from outside our university, even from abroad, coming from different expertise. Well, all kinds of experiences may work. What is crucial is the enthusiasm, the commitment, and the synergy with the advisor, which is crucial. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sonzale-Orda. If someone would like to provide an additional question, can I think I see that nobody's turning on the microphone, so we can move to another question. We have a question for Leila. Stefano asks, did you find any particular difficulty in joining the PhD program of Politecnico di Torino coming from another university?
Thank you for the question. So if you are thinking about the procedure, I didn't, because I found all the information on the website. And when I had question, I wrote to the Scudo office, and they give me all the information I need. And then, I graduated in Università di Torino, and it was different going to work at Politecnico with a group I didn't know, but I was interested in doing a PhD, and I found a very nice group that I can work with. It's a thing that I think it's important also to learn to work with people in group. And then it was a challenge, but it was a nice one, and I suggest you to do it.
Thank you, Leila, for your answer. Now we have another general question for our guests. I think that it is more for the current and former students. Do you think the PhD gave you something you exploit every day in your work you will not have otherwise? Someone would like to answer? For example, Dr. Mineto, do you have an answer? Would you like to provide an answer about that? Thank you.
Personally, I think yes. It can provide you some helpful, some helpful skills for your job, any kind of job that you could address in principle. Since I'm still doing research, I could say that everything I learned during the PhD is still helpful for me. From the communication skills, from passing through, of course, writing, scientific writing, and also all the other skills that I earned during the PhD. I think that this answer could be addressed better by someone who is spending the knowledge earned during the PhD in some companies, probably, I don't know, maybe Drs. Giulio Santoro or even the other colleagues probably they could provide some kind of better answer to how can they spend their knowledge, their skills. Yeah.
Sure, I can add something.
Something else? Okay, maybe Dr. Santoro, would you like to answer?
Yeah, I can add something. I wanted to say that I definitely agree with Alex on, for example, on the public speaking skills in the industry is really, really important because you work with other people, not just in your team, but also with people in other teams. And you really need to explain to these people the work that you have done. You need to be effective in such a way that they understand you, you understand them, and you can work well together. I'd say that also the PhD has helped me a lot in being able, as I was saying also before, of coming out of my comfort zone. So doing something that is not exactly what I've studied. So going beyond actually what I have studied. So this has helped me a lot, and the PhD is a lot about that, right? Going beyond.
Thank you. Dr. Marcelli, would you like to add something more about that?
Yeah, sure. So what the PhD brought to me in my everyday life. So for sure, I think that when we have a new problem, considering that we do kind of try to research, so we quite often have to brainstorm and find a solution for a new challenging problem. I find it very, very nice and easy, given my experience in tackling problems which were not easily solvable. So it's very nice when you try to think out of the box, and I think the PhD gave me some hints on this. Then, of course, technical writing, and also being able to read the paper and understand the target of the paper, understand what they want to prove, and if there is some value behind the paper, I think it's something that is very interesting and can be applied basically to anything that we read, anything technical at least. So yeah, for sure there is some value in our everyday life.
Okay, thank you. We have another question for Professor Sonzaleorda, given by a student, Paolo, who says, how are the publications related to the PhD? Is there any restriction related to the number of publications a PhD student has to carry out?
Okay, let me try to answer to this very important question. Well, first of all, let me start from a statement which should be very clear. The common metric for evaluating, which is used worldwide for evaluating research, is the number and the quality of the publications. Okay, so publications are needed, and if you are doing good research, it's normal, it's expected that you make publications, because a researcher is someone interacting with the rest of the community, and interaction means also, let's say, publishing papers, presenting papers in conferences and on international journals. Okay, so if the PhD, if your PhD career is going on well or reasonably well, you will publish papers. It will come, let's say, in a very natural manner. Now, clearly, publications also depend on the specific scenario. I mean, in some cases, if you work strictly with, in a strict relation with the companies, well, there may be some issue, because companies may want perhaps to patent something before publishing and things like that. And coming to the real answer, yes, there are requirements, in the sense that Politecnico, like all major research universities worldwide, has some minimum requirements, okay, which depend on the curriculum, which may depend, even they change in time. There are some requirements. My expertise is that these requirements are naturally matched if the PhD is, let's say, correctly attached and performed. So I don't think this is a major problem if everything is going on well. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sonzare-Orda. Now we have a general question for all coordinators, maybe. Will the actual coronavirus situation affect the number of PhD positions next year and the economic fund somehow?
I can try to address that. I don't have a glass ball, so I cannot give you for granted an answer. But it's a fact that the strategic plan of Polito is investing a lot in PhD students. Polito is putting down a lot of money to be able to cover all the scholarships. And by the way, keep in mind that Polito scholarships are higher by about 200 euros than other scholarships in other universities in Italy. Right, so you are treated better here than in other places. Given that, I don't think this will be affected, because the scholarship coming from the Ministry of Education will stay, and given the type of relationship we have with companies that sponsor specific thematic activities and external scholarships, I don't expect this to diminish.
If I can add something, I agree with Stefano, because also for the PhD metrology who is going to work with the INGRIM, we don't expect any change in the amount of grants and in the total value of the grants.
Thank you. Professor Sonzare-Orda, would you like to add something else? Or can we move to another question?
I mean, I will agree. I am agreeing with what has been said, especially on the fact that it is difficult to forecast the future, although I'm quite optimistic about the fact that the situation will not degrade so much in the future due to the current situation.
Okay, now we have another question that is, let's say, general for the coordinators. That is how much, but probably it is something that we already discussed previously. But if you would like to add something else, and it is related to the fact, if the work of the master's thesis is strictly related to the subject of the PhD research, but this thing twice has been detailed previously. Professor Griveta-Locia, you can confirm to me this thing.
Yeah, I can confirm we can have all possible situations. You may continue if you agree with your tutor, your master thesis, if that is promising. Of course, it has to be a long-term project that is lasting 3 years and that is expected to lead to some new results, publications, etc. But you can also change completely subject. So, for instance, I have a student who is a circuit theory student, and she's doing a cardiovascular modeling of the human blood circulatory system. You know? So she changed completely her subject.
Thank you, Professor Griveta-Locia. Now we have a question for Dr. Santoro. What is your experience in getting to work at Apple? Would you say many of your colleagues have a PhD? Thank you. It is written by Enrico.
So my experience so far is great. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really happy with the work and the environment. Yes, I have to say that many of my colleagues have a PhD. Not just here. I know that many other colleagues they work in the US. They also have PhD. Many more than I was thinking. So I would say is clearly a plus, and also the kind of job, right? It's R&D. It's almost like doing research. So it's really useful.
Thank you. We have the final question for Dr. Minetto. Enzo writes, how his doctoral experience has changed as he in a joint venture with a company compared to a purely academic doctorate? Okay, I say it again. He asks, how his doctoral experience has changed as he in a joint venture with a company compared to a purely academic doctorate?
I read it in Italian, so I can guess the answer. Basically, I would say that my scholarship was not provided by the company and was not a PhD, a joint PhD program with the academic and company. It was a pure academic PhD and was supported by ministry scholarship. So was a government scholarship. Honestly speaking, it's a difficult question to be answered because I don't know the difference. I spent most of the time working side by side with professional researchers, more than one, of course. And this was a great opportunity to somehow to learn very fast how research is basically. So it's made by looking through papers and literature and trying to set up some MATLAB scripts and trying to make them working and so on. It was a very fast process in terms of learning, but I think that it could be the same even in the academic world, because there are some other people working with you that are maybe professional researchers from the academic side. And I think that the shape of the job is not that different. Of course, in a company, in a real company, this is a research institute. Links Foundation is a research institute and is a joint venture between Politecnico di Torino and a private Istituto San Paolo. So it's fairly different from a pure company. Again, so I'm just adding differences over differences, but it's a research institute, so it's very close to the academic experience, and it comes from the academic experience. So I would say that it was a great opportunity, but I think it's not very different from the pure academic work. That's the answer to this question.
So thank you, Dr. Minetto, and I thank you for all the participants for providing their experiences. And before concluding, I would like to provide some final comments about this event. Okay, first of all, we apologize for some small problem in the video streaming, but I would like to thank all the people who were behind the scenes, from the IEEE student branch of Politecnico di Torino, from the IEEE Women in Engineering, and from IEEE Eta Kappa. As Maurizio Capra, Giulia Ardesi, Annunziata Paviglianiti, Cristian Coleci, Carmine Paolino, Deborah Caldarola, Simone Dutto, and Sandro Sartori, who worked behind the scenes for making this activity possible. I would like to say just briefly an important thing, that is that all people who permitted the organization and the streaming of this video are mainly PhD students, in some cases master students, but mainly PhD students. And something more that the PhD program can add to the personal curriculum, and let's say also, we can say also in a sort of ethical way, is the importance of voluntary activities for providing a service to a community. We tried to do the best for providing this service, this learning experience, as we can say in this way, to the community. And we hope that in some way you appreciated our efforts. I would like to thank everybody for participating, and also the people who saw the live streaming on YouTube. Thank you for your attention. Stay safe and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Before starting, I was missing an important aspect. If you would like to provide the information, or would like to have additional information about the PhD programs, you can directly write an email to the coordinators.
Gianni, aspetta, che avevo mutato tutto. Se vuoi lo registriamo e lo lasciamo nel video per la fine.
Ok, va bene.
Tanto sono comparse le slide con tutte le email.